So our goal is to change the conversation around mental illness and to take the stigma away from mental illness, like so many other people in our profession and in our circle are trying to do, which I think is a really, really amazing thing. So what we do here is we do neurofeedback, which is essentially just brain training. The kind that we do QEEG, so we do a quantitative EEG where we place a little kind of swim cap looking thing on your head that has 19 different electrode sites. From there we capture obviously the data from the 19 sites. We do 8 minutes eyes closed, 8 minutes eyes open. It's really important. There's some major differences that happen in the brain when your eyes are open versus when your eyes are closed. So once we have all of that data, then we work with a specific doctor, and all of that data goes off to that doctor, and he writes a protocol. What we're looking for is one, amplitude. So we're looking at different brain waves like beta, alpha, delta, gamma, theta. And we're looking to see how much of those waves are in your brain. So in general, and this is not any kind of specifics, but in general, if you have excessive amount of beta, this is our kind of like high vibrational energy, so to speak, or a wave, then it points to more anxious activity, right? You're probably more highly anxious. Alpha is kind of our idling state. So it's really good if the brain produces alpha, but not too much alpha. So it's kind of like the everything in moderation. So we kind of look to see the different different amounts of brain waves in all 19 locations. And then the doctor that we're using, we also look at coherence, which is which parts of the brain are talking to each other, which parts of the brain are not talking to each other. And what we want to do is we want to push those connections closer together. So essentially we're just optimizing the way the brain functions. We're kind of setting it back to 0 point, setting it back to maybe before trauma has happened, or all the stories, beliefs, patterns, ideas, all these things that we go through in life that affect our brain, that change our brain chemistry, that change the way we think. We're kind of setting it back to how kind of the standard, right? There's a standard for each age. So then from there, once we get the protocol from the doctor, then we have just 4 electrode sites that we put on the brain, and then we're training again the amplitude, training certain brain waves up, certain brain waves down in certain locations, and then we're also pushing connection together so that your brain is optimally talking to each other. We cue again in another 15 sessions to see what changes happen in the brain, and then we shift the protocol based on that. So the brain is getting audio rewards via headphones. There's like a beep every time the brain is doing what we want it to do. And then also it gets a visual. So our clients are kind of, they're watching Netflix, something benign, not something that's going to like jump and scare them.
So
or they're
something
kind of
chill.
Something chill, like Friends, that kind of thing.
A nature show
maybe. And documentary. And then from there, they also have a visual overlay. It's a dimmer screen. So every time they get the reward, they get it in their ears and their headphones auditorily, and then also visually, the dimmer screen will brighten. So over time, the brain learns what we want it to learn and gets trained in a specific way. So we see all kinds of people, we see top athletes who just want to increase their performance, CEOs who are looking to be more focused and better leaders, more empathy, that kind of thing. Also depression, anxiety.
Veterans,
PTSD. We work a lot with ADHD and autism, huge in those range with a lot of kids. So we work with kids all the way up to, any kind of age. People who have a lot of sleep issues. You name it, we can train it, kind of thing. So,
and how long are the sessions? And I know there's different models. I interviewed somebody a few weeks ago who does more of a wellness model. This is much more standardized. There's protocols. There's a doctor that's overseeing it. So it's very helpful in terms of addressing some really intense symptoms for a lot of folks, or like you said, optimizing performance. So what does that protocol, if somebody were to come in, they're going to get their brain mapped, and then kind of walk me through what that protocol looks like for folks?
So it's very, very, very different between each person.
Gotcha.
So once you come in, once we get all the brain maps back and everything, we'll show you exactly. So we have like a 32-page report that shows exactly what's going on. We'll kind of have those brain maps probably that you've seen with the hot spots. You know, it's like the color in the hot spots and exactly where those hot spots are and what hertz they're in. So we'll walk you through in layman's terms what this means. So let's say you have a hot spot at this exact point on your brain in this range of hertz. This is probably a major indication of your depression, of your anxiety, of like this is where trauma happens. This is where, so we have essentially what we're doing is showing you exactly in your brain where a lot of your symptoms are coming from, where a lot of your heavy emotion is coming from. And I think for a lot of people, it can be really helpful because there's a lot of questioning of like, well, why can't I just get over my depression? Or like, why am I so anxious? I should be able to just do this. I should. And there's a component of this is how your brain is wired right now.
Yeah.
And it's not your fault. This is just what your brain is doing. And you shouldn't beat yourself up over the fact that like it's hard to get out of bed in the morning. We can see that in your brain and we're gonna help train you. Obviously it's up to you to still make life-changing habits and patterns, which is where the meditation mindfulness aspects comes in. But we're gonna help you train your brain. And then as a company and as individuals, as part of the company, we're gonna do everything in our power to help you follow your dreams and realize your passions and go after what your purpose is and hopefully be able to help you find what that is. That's why we always say like we're not a neurofeedback company, you know, like that's a component of what we do, but our purpose here is to help you find your purpose, to help you go after your passions and your dreams, just like everyone else is trying to do, you know?
And it's very individualized, it sounds like, because even what you're saying is the protocols are going to be individualized. The approach I know you offer, you mentioned other services. There's a nutritionist on staff, and you yourself do the mindfulness piece. So let's touch on that. Like, what does that? How does that work in conjunction with the neurofeedback? And what is the kind of the mindset around, you know, people getting referred to your services?
Yeah, so it's kind of a perfect complement for neuro, and of course I have many clients who are not neuro who just come in for meditation. And again, I think there are so many stigmas around meditation, and it's truly just a form of mental training, right? Like we go to the gym, we exercise, we work out our bodies, we eat right. And what I find is so interesting is we're missing half of the whole training component of the whole picture of what it is to be a human, and that's that mental component. In this day and age of technology, of social media, we're never really giving our brain time to rest. It's just like go, 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 go. It's pulled in a million directions.
All the time.
All the time.
From the time you wake up till the time you go to bed, things are moving, like we were saying.
And for that, because of that, our brains are, you can think of them as like wild horses, like wild, untamed horses that are like ready to buck you off at any moment. Sometimes you can't even get close to them or touch them because, you know, they're so skittish and afraid. That's how our brain is. And it's just part of training to train the mental piece too, right? You go to the gym, you eat right, like I said. Now it's time to train the mind. And so usually I work with kids anywhere from age 5. Obviously their mindfulness looks much different than when you get older, but with my kiddos, I play lots of mindful games. So we talk about, you know, how to regulate emotion and sensory, like using all your 5 senses to experience the world, and how to be in the present moment and how to breathe and all that kind of stuff. And that's obviously done with lots of games and pictures and coloring and sound games. But with everyone, regardless if they're 5 years old or 85 years old, I always have a conversation about their brain. And luckily I'm blessed to have all of this, you know, information and be able to, you know, see what happens in the brain and see what the brain is doing on the neuro side. So there's always a conversation about, you know, these the amygdala. This is kind of the fire alarm part of your brain. The conversation with the 5-year-old obviously is much different than an 85-year-old. But no matter what age, I'm always going to teach you about your brain, because I think it's so empowering to know how your brain functions, that when you're angry and you're seeing red, what's happening in your brain. Again, it's just a part of your physiological, neurological response to a trigger. And you don't have to be completely tied up or caught in it or feel bad or feel shame around it.
And it doesn't have to define you.
And it doesn't have to define you.
Yeah, it can just be a part of understanding this is how neurobiologically I am experiencing the world.
Exactly.
But that's not me, that's not my spirit, that's not my personality, however you want to define it. That there's a physiological experience going on, and when you have understanding from that can be freeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is so huge. Freeing. And so I was curious if you wouldn't mind sharing that activity, because my mom actually did this with her Head Start class. The one you were talking about, you do with little kids.
Those are the bubble.
Oh,
the bubble breathing. I'm like,
yes.
I have so many.
I know, you have a lot, but this is one really cool one. I think that this would be a great way to wrap up, because we're almost at 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so here we are.
Okay, so I'll teach you I'll do the bubble, but then also I want to teach you the box breathing. This is actually one that my mom sent me from a book she was reading.
Oh, cool.
So whoever, not mine, so credit goes elsewhere. Also bubble breathing, not mine. But the bubble breathing is really great for little kids. What you want to do is you want to place your hands on your belly and then inhale like you're filling up a balloon. And then you'll blow the air out.
Oh, this is nice.
And you'll kind of just imagine that you're making a bubble and you're blowing the air out. And let's just do one more of those. Inhale. I feel calmer already. So even just with that simple breath and imagine blowing up a bubble, it helps kids get really calm. The other one I like that my mom just sent me that I've been trying with my clients and they love is box breathing. So you take your finger and it kind of helps get your motor, visual cortex, everything online. So you take a finger and on the inhale, you'll draw up the box. Hold as you go over. Exhale down. Hold. Inhale. Then you can also add some words and say, even though I'm angry, I can still be happy. Even though I'm angry, I'm still okay. And you can just add in words. It can be a good emotional, like, even though I feel this way, I know that I'm okay, or even I will be okay. Or you can just have it all be positive, like, I feel calm, I feel peaceful. But it gives something for the mind to visually and, also for the body to do.
Yeah.
So that one can be really, really nice for
linking
kiddos
the mind
too.
and the body. And with that bubble breathing, they imagined, I guess, kind of, my mom told me, like, they created this bubble and then they put the worry.
Oh, is that
and
the
then
one
it,
they gave you?
Yes, and then they sent it on its way.
Yeah, that's the pink bubble one. So yeah, you can actually just take your hands and kind of like blow a bubble, and then you imagine putting all of your worries and fears and then just
blowing it on its way. So I just imagine all these little kids just sending their worries away, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which is something adults can practice, right? So that's what's so great is everything, like you said, you tailor the mindfulness piece to each client, to their age, meet them where they're at, and they walk out of here with skills that they can continue to use that also really enhance the work they're doing with neuro, right?
Exactly.
So it's just, or they can come in and just, if neuro doesn't speak to them, but mindfulness does, either or. They can also meet, like you said, with a nutritionist, really looking at overall wellness.
Yeah.
Well, cool. This has been really fun. So we will include information in the comments for your website, which there's research on there. So if people are really interested in learning more, I know there's a lot of research on there about neurofeedback. I think last time I was here, Shelley, the owner, had said that the APA, the American Psychological Association, had just stated that neurofeedback was like a best practices, maybe. That's what I think she had shared. So that's pretty cool. I think we're going to be seeing more of it because of the benefits people are seeing, which is really neat. So yes, here's Carissa. If you have questions, please reach out to her at the Mind Gym. We'll include her information. And I've enjoyed interviewing you in your beautiful office space. You can't see it, but we're sitting here on the floor. It's really comfy, and it's just a very soothing, relaxing space to really get you in that relaxed state, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you. Oh gosh, dang.